From a very young age, I think it was quite apparent to most people that I was a performer. I always was putting on little plays and things at school, and in some ways, I think all my classmates wouldn't be surprised that I ended up doing what I was doing. I was doing it in one way or form at school from a really young age. To be honest, I never ever thought that I would end up in television. When I went to drama school, I thought, theatre was going to be where I would make my career. So I'm actually as surprised as anyone to get any television work at all. You know, I'm very grateful for it, though. Very grateful for it. My most wonderful experience about Skitz, of course, was the success of the Samisi family, the Melbourne Place sketch written by Dave Armstrong, and working with the wonderfully, fabulously talented Dave Farney, who, you know, I always used to think of Dave as like being Torval and Dean. You know, you've got to keep on your toes, you've got to keep on your toes, and follow his lead, but look graceful on the way. Skitz gave me the chance, Dave Gibson, who's the producer at Gibson Group, gave me the chance to foray into a bit of directing through Skitz, which was kind of really timely for me too, because I had been doing sketch comedy for a little while, and I'd sort of felt a little bit exhausted, and I needed a new challenge. And Dave Gibson recognised that and gave me that opportunity, so I switched over to behind the camera as well as being in front. And thank goodness, because I don't know if I'd still be in this industry if that hadn't have happened, because it's difficult to survive in the industry on as an actor alone. I was terrified the whole time, you know, because I really, I'm fundamentally I'm an actor, and I'm used to going into characters or hiding behind. No, I'm not used to presenting myself on camera, and in some ways that's how I attacked it. Again, I went drag because it's at least a character or a persona that I can hide behind in a way. Thankfully for me, I was working with the wonderful Kerry Woodham, who grace under pressure, and I remember it was pissing down, and of course we're in a makeshift lean-to out front of the Ponsonby fire station, with, you know, a bit of tarp thrown over the top and cables everywhere, and this overwhelming fear that any minute now we're all going to be going like this at Hero, you know, we're going to die of electric shock. After putting my audition down and sending it off to Michael Hurst, I got a phone call to say that my father was in hospital and he was dying. So I immediately jumped in the car, picked up my niece, drove down to Tukaro Hospital, got there. My father passed away 5 minutes before I arrived. So I was in my hometown of Munkina for 3 weeks with my family and stuff. Through a bit of grief, I managed to break my arm and that, and rang Shortland Street to warn them when I was coming back. When I came back to Auckland after that 3 weeks to start back on Shortland Street, phone rang as I was about to walk out the door to go to work. It was Michael Hurst on the phone. Michael said he'd firstly he apologised for not considering me for the role. He should have known better. He's an actor. He'd seen my tape, and that he was going into a production meeting to sort out the final casting, and that he wanted me to know that he was going in to fight for me for that role. He needed to know 2 things. Was I available? And would I cut my hair? And I went, yep to both. The importance of that film for me was my father. I wore my father's clothes in it. And I carried a photo around with him at all times, and that one was for my dad. I think some of the highlights for me in my career has been being a part of fundamentally Māori productions, and Mataku was one of those, where the producers were Māori, and they were trying to tell Māori tales from a Māori perspective. So it's always, you know, and it's great to walk on to a crew where I have to say there's just nothing quite like that vibe. And I got to be on there a couple of times. Once I was directed by Michael Bennett, who's just directed his debut feature film. I played, you know, an affable, nice kind of uncle character on that. And then the next one, I was a demon from the 12th dimension. You know, there's fun. You know, it's kind of a little bit like the Xenas and Hercs when you get to play that character. They're kind of the boundaries are boundless. B&B, Bevan and Beverly Best. The best little B&B in Oneoneroa. Yeah, that was a trip. That was, you know, it was fantastic. It was a privilege to kind of be the first in-house produced comedy for the Māori channel. You know, I was very fortunate that Radar and I got on really well, like a house on fire creatively. He is a very generous and brave man. And we kind of, just every week, we just kind of gripped each other's hands and went. We had a mentality that, you know, because we had guests coming on and they were being thrown into the deep end. You get one quick kind of walk through of what you're going to do and then you're on. And I think one of the things that I think Johnny Givens and us as a production can be proud of is actually how well we looked after our guests. And for me, it was a fantasy job because I got to invite people that I had grown up admiring, peers that I'd always wanted to talk with, interview, or meet. And I got to have this kind of wish list starting to be ticked off. It's great. I'd previously played Mrs. Samisi on Skitz. And so it was actually me who went to Johnny because initially they had an idea there'd be two brothers at the B&B, one Pākehā, one Māori, one gay, one straight. And I had to say, okay, it's just doesn't feel right for me. And I said, look, you know what I do well and what people respond to is going, I do female drag, you know, female characters, you know, because I never think of Beverly as drag. She's a middle-aged woman, you know. So I think the reaction was, I don't think, I'm not sure, like I said, I don't really dwell on it, but I think that people just went with the character. You know, if your character is strong enough and there's truth in there and you come from a good place, that the character, I don't think people looked at Beverly and said, that's a man playing a woman. I think they went, oh, that's Auntie Beverly. And that's kind of what I strive for. Maddigan's Quest, it's a lot of fun, a big, huge, quite a huge ensemble cast, you know, where the leads were all, you know, no one over 16. Loved getting to do the acrobatic stuff, you know, it was the latent gymnast in me from childhood was able to come out, you know, and balance on balls and do flips and stuff, and it was quite good to be able to get that in before I got too old to be able to do it. I think a real huge highlight of Maddigan's for me in some ways was to get to work with Rachel House, a very dear friend and an actor that I've admired for a long time. And we worked really close, and our roles were really, we were very much the supporting cast, and that's the approach that we took. We really, I think in terms of cast, embodied in some ways our characters were very auntie and uncle to the younger cast. And we particularly took young Hori Ahipene, who'd just come off doing River Queen, which was his debut, and came on to Maddigan's Quest. And we kind of took him under our arms and helped tutor him through and stuff like that. And that was great. That's the greatest satisfaction I got out of doing Maddigan's Quest. She's bringing a new kind of outrageous to outrageous at the moment, I think. She's a prostitute, but not a street worker. She's a she-male who has, well, I'm trying not to give anything too much away and get myself in trouble. Introduced to the series through Van and Nikki Gregan. So, I mean, there's more to come that I can't really talk about, but she's fun to play.